Hello and welcome to The Price of Music, brought to you by Music Ally, the show that's fascinated by the fun and games and finances of the music world, as explained each week by me, Steve Lamack, and him, Stuart Dredge. And we should start with an apology this week. If Stuart sounds just a little distracted at all, it's because he's been up most of the night searching for clues surrounding a new Taylor Swift album. He can't help it, can you?
I mean, I just spend every night doing that, but tonight the search paid off. Yesterday people got excited about a countdown on Taylor Swift website to 12/12 on the 12th of August. And surprise, surprise, it turns out to be the announcement of her 12th studio album. So yeah.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where it's going to literally every single tiny bit of this is going to be drip fed for maximum social impact. So The title was announced overnight, but the cover artwork has been blurred out and the release date hasn't been announced.
Right.
But she has announced that she's appearing on her partner's podcast tomorrow, where no doubt another announcement will happen. But yeah, so like the promo campaign started overnight, and now I think every day we're going to see something new about it. So yeah, good times for Swifties.
There is quite a lot of news to get through this week. We will be covering, amongst other things, price rises for Spotify subscribers, headline grabbing profits for Live Nation, and as everyone seems to be celebrating the noughties again, Napster are back in the news, plus so many other business, including badly tracklisted albums and crowdfunding festivals. But first it is Stuart's big figure. What's this week's big musical number?
Okay, 217.5 million.
217.5 million what?
This is streams on Spotify, and it's the most popular song by alt rock icons Pavement on Spotify. But my little challenge is, which song is the most popular Pavement song on Spotify?
Oh, with Pavement, you'd have to probably, what would your best guess be? Cut Your Hair?
It's not Cut Your Hair. That's got 49.4 million streams.
Oh, it's not Cut Your Hair. Range Life.
Not that either. That's got 34.8. It's a song called Harness Your Hopes, which you'd be forgiven if you weren't a Pavement superfan for not knowing. It was a 1999 B-side, but it's got 217 million streams. So I actually, yesterday, besides getting excited about Taylor Swift, I spent yesterday adding up Pavement stream counts on Spotify because I really know how to live. Their 5 studio albums, the main albums, they've had just over 350 million streams on Spotify collectively. And then this B-side has more than 60% of that on its own.
Right. I mean, I do know the song Harness Your Hope. It is a good song. I'm surprised, though. What is there any particular reason for this? I mean, as I say, it's a good song. But was it used in a film or a TV program or in an ad or have the fans just spoken?
Well, not so much. I mean, so you dig into it. So sometime in the 2010s, it started getting recommended to people by Spotify's algorithm, and no one seems to quite know why.
Right.
But one theory is that it's kind of got all the right musical attributes, to be played alongside other kind of popular indie rock tracks from the 90s and 2000s. And the algorithm was like, right, okay, if I'm playing someone, The Breeders' Cannonball, say, this might go well after it. So the algorithm kind of almost on its own decided this was a Pavement track that was worth putting into people's ears. And then what happened, people think, is that people didn't skip it because it's good and it's quite short and it's quite catchy. So people didn't skip it. And that was a big sign to the algorithm, this is good. Like, if people don't skip it. And so then it became Pavement's best performing track sometime later. And then again, Spotify's algorithm's like, right, okay, this is clearly the Pavement track I should play to people if I'm going to be playing them Pavement. So, and then TikTok has picked up on it. There were lots of TikToks using it. That drove a new wave of streams. And eventually the song was released as a single, I think a couple of years ago, by the band's label. So it's had this weird afterlife.
Yeah.
And originally it was just a B-side.
It's a good start to start the programme. As always, as well, we've spent quite a lot of time sifting through all the stories emerging from the music industry over the past few days to try and find what we hope are the most important or most interesting to you, or the ones we think will be relevant to yourselves. So here's our top 3 stories for this week, starting with this, which, I mean, comes with a headline that sounds like it's from the year 2000. Sony Music is suing Napster. For what this time? What this?
Yeah,
So what have Naps? Why the ghost of Nap? How has this happened?
well, so I mean, obviously, back in the day, Napster was the most famous peer-to-peer file sharing service, wasn't it? And it was used to download music for free. And it got sued out of business by labels at the time, around 1999, 2000. But the brand lived on, and like over time, and like several owners, it's been owned by a whole range of people over the intervening 25 years.
Mm,
It became a legal streaming service that had licensing deals, and you could use it, and it was legit. But yeah, so last week, Sony Music is suing it for more than $9.2 million of unpaid royalties. And it said that basically Napster stopped paying royalties about a year ago. Sony terminated its license in June this year and said, right, you can't have our music anymore. And
right.
this lawsuit claims that not only has the music been unpaid, the royalties been unpaid, but the Napster is still offering Sony's music illegally now on its site. So there is still like a throwback copyright infringement aspect to this. But essentially, it's they stopped paying us a year ago and now we're suing them for it.
Okay, so it's less because the thing about Napster in the early days, it was. I think they were portrayed as, I mean, they would always be described as some sort of pirate service, weren't they? But
Mm.
there was something, quite anti-establishment about them. But this appears to just be, we we don't have the money to pay you.
Well, yeah, and the weird thing is that so Napster, and it seems in January this year there were some reports that Napster was late with royalty payments, and so there was kind of some assumption that there's something going on there. But the weird thing is, and we talked about this at the time, that in March Napster was bought for $207 million by this company called Infinite Reality, who are this tech company. They're kind of involved in the metaverse, and they own the Drone Racing League, which is kind of one of my favorite stats about that. Is they own this thing called the drone, where people go and race drones, and it's like a sport. And that company had recently raised like $3 billion of funding. So you'd think that settling Napster's debts would have been a drop in the ocean, really, of
Mm,
that. If it's, but they haven't. And so there's a weird kind of thing of like, okay, you've been bought by this company that seems flush with cash. What's happened? Napster did put a statement out and said, we remain committed to rebuilding Napster's relationships with all of the major labels and are hoping for a swift and amicable resolution, which actually my little journalist sensor pinged there because I'm like, all of the major labels. So maybe it sounds like there's some issues with the other labels too, not just Sony, but we'll
right.
find out, I guess.
I mean, rebuilding is the thing. Just building would
Yeah.
probably be quite a good start. Next week, Universal take down MySpace. Story two. Now, I mean, here's another company who've had their fair share of headlines over the years. But Live Nation's latest financial results are in. Live Nation, who of course are the massive global promotions firm. Live Nation. I mean, we looked at this. I'm told by young Stuart that the correct fiscal term for describing their profits is absolutely stonking. The company, here's the figure, the company made more than $7 billion in the last quarter, which is eye-watering. And down to what or who? How have they generated this? Has it just been a particularly busy time on the live circuit? Is that one of the reasons?
It has been, yeah. I think they said that 44 million fans attended their concerts. So that's up 14% year on year. Sold over 130 million tickets, up 6%. And I think their operating profit was $487 million. So that's
Mm,
just the profit. And yeah, they actually pulled out stadium shows as one of the big factors. So apparently, stadium attendance tripled in the second quarter of this year compared to last year for Live Nation, which just suggests that there are all these big tours underway around the world. They've got their kind of finger in.
mm,
Apparently, more than 40% of those stadium shows sold 95% of their tickets in the first week.
really?
So again, it's a lot of stadium shows selling out quickly. Um,
That is really interesting actually, because
yeah.
because the fear for a promoter at whatever level of gig is that you put these big shows on sale,
Mm.
and some of them obviously will stiff. But it seems like they're on a very good run. Did you say as well that the profit is up, but actually the number of tickets they've sold is marginally down, or did I make that up?
No, tickets is up 6%,
Oh,
and
is it?
the revenues are up 16%
Oh, I see. Right.
because
Okay.
I think that a lot of the money came from the promotion and the advertisement. But the other thing I thought was interesting, so they had their earnings call because they're a public company, and they talk quite a bit on that about other parts of the world like Latin America, Japan, India. They sort of alluded to Africa and Singapore and Thailand. And they talked about the demand in these countries for big shows by big artists.
Right.
Travis Scott was the one they talked about quite a lot, saying here's a kind of artist now who can fill stadiums for multiple nights in India, which a few years ago wasn't really on the touring circuit for that kind of artist.
Hmm.
So I think, in a way, and we've talked, we talk about how the big labels are starting to put a lot of focus and investment in other parts of the world because they're becoming big streaming. That seems to be happening in live, and Live Nation saying, yeah, we're looking at these countries and saying, right, what venues are there we can book our big stars into? But also, do we need to build venues there or refit venues there? So
Hmm.
that seems to be like, so now you might say it's all about Coldplay and the big stars, but they seem to be putting a lot of effort and thought into these new parts of the world for the Western touring business as well.
Right. I'm interested in that ticket sales up by 6,000,
Mm,
sorry, 6%, and
mm,
but profits up by 16%, which, well, there's two things from this story actually. But that particular figure, does that back up the trend of what I'm calling at the top end, at stadium level, a kind of ticket price inflation where, it appears people are happy enough to pay more for a big event these days, or if not happy, at least are
mm,
driven to shell out more money on the promise of being at a gig that they simply don't want to miss.
I mean, that's it.
This seems to be a trend.
Well, true, and that, like you said, that's 6% growth in the number of tickets sold, not the revenue from them. So
Mm.
clearly, yeah, it is. And I guess as your mix, if you're a Live Nation, you obviously have a mix of shows from clubs up to stadiums. And if more of your shows are in stadiums that quarter, then I guess then your revenues are going to
Yeah.
feel the impacts. But
Which
yeah, I
does, I
mean,
mean, it does, wherever the gigs are happening, though. Point two is,
mm,
as with all promoters, I mean, your profits though are at the mercy of whoever's touring. It's the touring
mm,
schedules will dictate how much money you make. So, question: what happens when there is no Beyonce tour, or the
mm.
Coldplay tour that never ends finally ends?
The next Coldplay tour starts straight away. Well,
But
I
then
think
but
that's
then
what.
you see, if they don't have shows out there, if they're not putting on shows,
Mm.
then they can't make any money.
True. Is there a natural rhythm to this? Do you think? Like, I would imagine if you are, I don't know, if you are Beyonce, do you sort of plan your next tour to try to avoid some of the big ones to make sure you have your like? Do they? Is there a natural spacing out of the biggest tours, or do they all just go when they want to go and that's it?
I would think people are aware of who's going to be on tour at a certain
Mm,
time. Certainly, Live Nation, because they promote so many big acts, will probably be having conversations saying with management companies saying, "Well, if you, the Foo Fighters, want to do this massive tour, that's fine. Just to let you know, somebody else is out there."
mm,
In some cases, though, it will come down less to the actual dates, but when the tickets go on sale, so that
mm,
you can stagger the release of the tickets, so that you put one big tour on sale one month, and then when the paycheck comes in, you put out another set of tickets for other gigs.
mm. I think the other thing here as well is like that idea of going to these new parts of the world for the Western industry. There could be artists coming from there as well. So I was thinking actually about the K-pop acts. So now Blackpink are playing stadiums, BTS are playing stadiums. So I guess you maybe have a wider variety of artists who can do stadiums because there'll be someone from India who maybe can play stadiums in the US soon.
Mm,
I was thinking about, we talked about that Netflix show, K-pop Demon Hunters,
mm.
recently, and that's now topping the charts in the UK, in the US, and people must be thinking down now, going, quick, what is the live show for this? Like, because there could be a Gorillas style animated characters, like, because I'm sure if you did a K-pop Demon Hunters tour, you could probably go to straight to arenas, maybe even stadiums now.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're Live Nation, you're thinking, right, okay, beyond those, the number of Western acts who can fill stadiums, right? Who are the new stadium fillers coming from? Make sure we work with them.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we'll see, like Latin America, Bad Bunny's playing stadiums now. I think there's more where he came from. So I think that maybe that's the answer, that when Coldplay and Beyonce are on tour, someone from Puerto Rico or South Korea or India might be, and that's how they fill it.
Coldplay, by the way, I didn't realise, with obviously all the noise around Oasis and their gigs, but I hadn't noticed Coldplay are playing 10 Wembley stadiums. I mean, 10
10.
nights at Wembley Stadium. They're not doing 10 individual Wembley stadiums. 10 nights at Wembley, which, I mean, whatever you think of Coldplay, it's going to be very hard for people to match in the future, I think, wherever they come from. Story 3, which, well, it's not sort of, it won't impact us just yet, at least not financially, although it might do in the future. But it's a story, though, which appears to have made both the music industry and the good folk on Wall Street very happy. Spotify is raising its subscription rates in various countries around the world. Tell us about this. It's not here yet, is it? But is it parts of Europe and Asia?
It is, yeah, yeah. So I think UK had a price rise a little while ago. So we're not thinking, yeah. I like the good folk of Wall Street. It's good.
Mate,
The greediest good folk of
can,
Wall Street,
can,
maybe.
can you see how far my tongue was in my cheek as I was trying to say that sentence?
Yeah, but yeah, so this came last week. So it was funny actually because we talked about Spotify's earnings call, didn't we, last show?
Yeah,
And then they were saying there, people saying, when are you going to put prices up? And they were like, we put prices up when the time are right, and only then. And it seemed that the next day the time was
they
right.
put the
So they
prices up.
but it's in Europe and a few other places, other parts of the world. It's buy a euro in Europe, so the equivalent of buy a dollar or buy a quid. So kind of a small price rise. And yeah, this is what the music industry has been badgering Spotify and its rivals to do for a while now. They look at what happens with Netflix, who jack up their prices every couple of years, and say, why can't you do that? Like, why can't it go up by a quid every couple of years?
Mm,
Um, and what I think is interesting, and like you said, so Wall Street loved it. So as a public company, we see the impact on Spotify's share price when it announces something. And I think it went up by 5% that day, which is a few billion dollars of
mm,
extra valuation for Spotify. So they liked it. And this comes back to when I write about Spotify normally, there's often a tension between what investors like and what the music industry likes. So
mm,
if Spotify finds a way to pay the music industry less money, Wall Street goes, hurrah, that's great, more profit. And if it has to pay more money to music, Wall Street goes, oh, hang on a minute, that's your margins. We're not keen on that.
mm.
So this is a rare example of both sides going, we like this. The price has gone up, adds more value to the company, pays more royalties to rights holders.
It's hard to get a grip on it because Spotify's share price, I mean,
Mm,
it's been quite erratic over the
it
past
has.
few years, hasn't it? I mean, it's been up and down like Bitcoin. So it's quite unpredictable, really.
Mm. And that's it. And a 5% rise is kind of in the scheme of things, not, it might go down 5% tomorrow. It went
Yeah.
down actually after the recent financials when they said, oh, advertising isn't doing as well as we thought. So yeah, it does go up and down. But I think the main thing here is, I think we talked about investors and music industry. I guess the third group of people who might care about this is people who Spotify subscribers.
Mm,
And that's the big unknown is like how often and how far can you put the price up before people start saying, hang on a minute, I'm struggling for money and this is too much. And so far, and Spotify has talked about this, so far there hasn't really been any big surging cancellations for past price rises. People are going, okay, it was $10.99 a month, now it's $11.99, but that's still a good deal, which I guess to us too,
mm,
it's a magnificent deal, isn't it? The entire history of recorded music for $11.99 a month
mm.
isn't. But I think they'll really be watching closely every time they put the price up by a small amount to just check, is there suddenly a wave of people cancelling
Right.
subscriptions, going back to free music? So we'll see, I think. But the other thing I think we'll see is when Spotify does something as the biggest company, it kind of opens the way for its rivals to do the same. Like, well, one big one goes, and then if someone else is thinking, well, I don't want to put my price up first, but now I can because Spotify has. So we
Mm.
might see another little wave of price rises across the board.
Okay. That's your news for this week. Any other business? Actually, can I start with any other business? This came out of a conversation which we had in last week's lock-in, which is the extra bit of the show for Patreon superfans, and it follows that news we covered last week about Hayley Williams, who released, instead of releasing a new album, released 17 individual tracks. So released 17 tracks effectively all as singles, which meant that you could then assemble them into an album if you wanted, with your own track listing. And that ended up in a conversation about what's the worst track listed album of all time? Badly track listed albums, well, or LPs where bands have, I mean, clearly got the track listing wrong. And I looked this up online, that people have posted about this. badly
Mm.
sequenced albums, including claims that amongst the badly track-listed albums out there in the history of rock, Let It Be by the Beatles,
Ooh.
Revolver by the Beatles, badly track-listed, AC/DC's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, badly track-listed. And I'm
Imagine how
gonna,
well those albums could have done if they'd been properly track
yeah,
listed.
I
It's a
mean,
shame, isn't it?
it really held the Beatles' career back no end. Can I add one? Because I was been
Yeah.
thinking about this, and sorry, Stuart. And in fact, I mean, obviously, I love this band, but The Great Escape by Blur, all over
Okay.
the place. That album. Don't
Tell me
start
then,
with
what's
don't start with stereotypes. Don't let the universal languish in no man's land. Somewhere further
Mm.
down the album, which doesn't make any sense. Um,
I was thinking about this, like not to argue against you, because I think you're thinking, do you think it's because it's stereotypes and country house, isn't it? The first two. Do you think they're the most similar to the last stuff, and it was a way of bringing those people in and then
no,
taking them through to the
I just
newer, more ambitious things, or
I just don't know
no?
if they knew what they were doing at the time. I mean, it was an era of confusion born out in the track listing of that record, I think.
Do you know, country house was all my fault? Do you know that?
Well, come on then. How is this pop? I mean, be very careful because this could be the point where you get cancelled. I was the one
Yeah.
who
Well, not
turned.
me and a whole stadium full of fans, not just me.
Yeah, what, the Mile End gig?
They played it at Mile End, and we all went
Yeah,
bananas. And
yeah,
they didn't. I think they were planning something else to be the
they
lead
were.
single, and because we all went so bananas for it, they were like, "No, Country House." Do you know the other thing I thought though? Like at Blur last year at Wembley, Country House was a big old sing along, and Roll With It at Oasis too. Which those two singles, everyone talks back and says those were rubbish, weren't they? Weren't they rubbish? But when everyone was there, several beers down, they were two of the biggest sing-alongs of those two gigs. So maybe there's a little kind of reassessment going on, or maybe everyone was just 3 pints down.
We'll take more comments on this, by the way, if you'd like to get in touch. Track listing errors, any albums that you feel could have benefited from the tracks being in a different order. The Price of Music podcast at gmail.com. And if you want some advice, just type in how to perfectly track list an album, and AI will tell you, amongst other things, start strong, open with a track that grabs attention, something bold, catchy, or emotionally resonant. And then create a narrative arc, vary the energy, and make sure you have anchor points. There you go. That's how to
Good
track
points.
list the perfect album. Also, actually, staying on the subject of albums, sorry to hog, sorry to hog this podcast. Did you see that the band, the K's, that's the band from Merseyside, the K's, went to #1 in the album chart a couple of weeks ago? I mean, comparatively unknown, and I know this happens more often these days. But the K's, say they're a guitar band from Liverpool. They are one of those bands that worked incredibly hard, gigged a lot, built a fan base with very little help from the media really. So I don't, but I know they've got fans out there. I don't know how many fans they've got, but they obviously all came out in that first week, the week of release, to support them because they sold 25,000 copies of their album Pretty on the internet. With, I looked at the stats, what was the best selling format?
Oh god, was it vinyl?
No,
No.
exactly what I would have thought, what I would have said.
Huh.
Best selling format out of the 25,000 copies, 12,000 or 12,500 possibly were on CD. I mean, having said that, there were quite a few different CDs, different
Mm.
versions of the CD. But the CD is now, it's the budget format compared to vinyl.
I was going to
There's,
say, yeah, vinyl. It's twice half the cost, isn't it? Of vinyl
yeah,
often.
yeah. But anyway,
It
I mean,
reminded me.
go on.
Well, it reminded me of we talk about Shed Seven had two #1 albums last year,
Mm.
and that's obviously a heritage comeback. But it's the same thing, I think. If you've got a fan base and you can activate them and get them to buy physical versions, it doesn't take that much physical sales to rocket up the chart. And even I think I was doing some. I was looking at the case because this is an example of a band getting to #1, and I haven't heard of them before. Like I'm catching up with all this. But they've got 334,000 monthly listens on Spotify, which is, kind of growing but small. Madonna has 38.7 million,
Mm.
but her new album came in at number 23 that week, which
Yeah.
is not quite fair because it's a remix album and that's her global total of streamers. But I think it shows if you've got a committed fan base, you can properly do the charts.
Yeah, I think it probably also shows how many Madonna fans are interested in new songs by Madonna.
I think it's remixes of old songs, so
Yeah,
might be
but even
true. Fair point.
but do you know what I mean? Even so, there's a what? A new Madonna album? I mean,
I mean,
that's the equivalent of going on stage at Wembley Stadium, saying hello, and then saying we're going to start. This is a new one. And then,
there's a new one. It's amazing for the K's though. Like because even whatever you think of the charts, like the fact that the K's now can tell their grandchildren, I had a number one album,
this
and
is
that is still
yeah.
exciting. That
Yeah.
is really
However they've done it,
mm.
forever now. The history book of rock will forever show that they had a number one album. Fair play
They
to
beat
them.
Oasis, didn't they? Oasis were number 2 and 3 that week, I think. So that
How,
again, we beat Oasis number 1. Asterisk required. But I'd be telling that to everyone I ever met if it was me.
There was a festival story which you mentioned, which we should touch on because obviously we're sort of racing through another summer festival season. Green Man this weekend, which is always popular with a lot of people I know. But there has, talking of musical trends, over the last decade or so, more and more people who I know have started going to festivals abroad. The advent of festival tourism has grown into quite a big thing over the past few years, including going to this festival, which I didn't realise was in a bit of trouble, but apparently it is. Serbia's Exit Festival is crowdfunding to keep itself alive after finding itself on the wrong side of the country's government. What's happened here?
Yeah, so this isn't a story about a festival running into trouble because it's not popular or not selling tickets. But I mean, it'd take a while to explain. But since November last year, there have been big protests in Serbia about corruption with students at the fore of them. And I think the Exit Festival backed those students, said, we backed the protests. And then now it says the government is threatened to withdraw, I think it's 1.5 million euros of public funding and sponsorships, which for any festival would be a big loss of
Yeah.
money. So it's launched this crowdfunding campaign. You can donate, you can pay for future tickets and perks, and it says digital assets, which I think are the new NFTs. but so you can basically show your support and say, I want this to happen. And they've alongside it came some quotes from saying, yeah, we're standing up for freedom of speech. I mean, I wasn't really aware of it that much before. I'd sort of heard of it, heard the name, but have you seen it? It's a fascinating mix of artists when you look at who played it this year.
Mm.
It's like you look at it, it's like Tiesto and the Prodigy and Eric Prydz and DJ Snake. So you think, oh, it's a dance festival, but then they had the Boomtown Rats and the Sex Pistols featuring Frank Carter as well, who may be doing their dance sets. I don't know, but it's like it's a well established festival. It's been going, I think it's 25 years or something.
Yeah,
So
there's
it's a
more,
real
yeah,
moment of
and there's
peril.
more and more of them. As I say, I know people who just put some kit in a bag and off they go
Mm.
for a week, and then take in a couple of festivals with each weekend. One at the first weekend, have a little bit of a wander around, do some travelling, and then go to another festival at the end of the week in a different country. And
Mm.
it's very tempting for artists, particularly artists from the UK. I mean, the Arctic Monkeys did all of those festivals all around Europe.
That's it, you can do it. And it is this part, this little mini trend, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I think about governments having any say in festivals. Like, do you remember when Keir
Mm.
Starmer was deciding who should play Glastonbury and who shouldn't this year in a discussion about kneecap? And in Serbia, this is very, this festival is serious in trouble after taking a political stance. So
Yeah.
yeah, people can go to the Exit Festival website and they can see the details there of what's been happening.
All right, we'll finish with another festival related story. And finally this week, if you wanted a ticket to the sold out Way Out West festival in Sweden this month, the price was, Stuart,
One of your kidneys.
just the one kidney will get you in, buy or sell. That this doesn't sound right. What do you mean? What?
Well, basically, you go to the front gate. There was a Swedish doctor with a warm bathtub and a scalpel. You go. Well, so no, this is like Way Out West again, another well-established festival. I think this year they had like Charlie XCX and Chappell Rowan and the Pet Shop Boys and Fontaines DC, and it sold out in a flash really quickly.
Hmm.
So I did a partnership with the National Organ Donation Registry. So thankfully, you're not giving your kidney before the festival. You're
Right.
signing up to the Organ Donors Registry in Sweden. And you got entry to a contest to win a 3-day pass. So it was just a very clever, they sort of said that a lot of people would say things like, I'd give my kidney for a ticket. And this was just a nice way to riff off that whilst adding a bunch of people to the National Organ Donation Register. So I really like that idea. No
That is
bathtubs involved.
no. I was just thinking, if you were going to donate kidneys or liver, surely you should do that before going to the festival, because
Well,
the
yeah, quite.
condition of them after 4 days at the
No one
festival.
wants your liver after 4 days at a
No.
festival.
We're out of time for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you are enjoying what we're trying to do, please do spread the word, tell your friends, or leave us a review online if you can, because that really helps. We are up against a lot of heavyweights. We need all the help we can get. Alternatively, you can support us via Patreon. In fact, if you sign up to be a super fan, you can get an extra 15 minutes or so of us pontificating over various music related matters, which is coming up next for subscribers. If you'd like to join us, you can become a super fan at patreon.com/the price of music. That's patreon.com/the price of music. You can also, of course, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you via our socials, or drop us a line, including, and we will answer some more of these in the coming weeks, but any questions you have for us which we could attempt to answer, anything you don't understand about how the industry works, something that you think we might be able to make sense of for you, the price of music podcast at gmail.com. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.